The night was velvet dark, and the city lights shimmered like jewels scattered carelessly across the horizon. In the middle of it all stood a towering mansion, its marble floors and golden chandeliers whispering of wealth beyond measure. But behind those glamorous walls, a storm brewed. A storm of betrayal, cruelty, and secrets no one could have imagined. Inside that mansion, a heavily pregnant woman with tired eyes and a breaking heart sat silently, her trembling hands folded across her swollen belly. She had once dreamed of love, of family, of a future filled with warmth. Instead, she was enduring the humiliation of being mocked by her husband's mistress, a woman who reveled in her pain, believing herself victorious. What the mistress didn't know, what the millionaire himself couldn't begin to fathom, was that the woman they ridiculed was not weak, not broken, not defeated. She was an undercover detective, and the game they were playing had already turned against them. Sparkles, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and justice for the brokenhearted, please take a moment to like this video, share it with friends, subscribe to our channel, Royal Stories, and leave a comment below. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories like this one to life. Sparkles. Her name was Eliza. To the outside world, she looked like just another lonely wife trapped in a loveless marriage with a rich man who no longer cared for her. But Eliza had lived a life of resilience. Before she had married Victor, the millionaire who had charmed her with promises of forever, she had been one of the most talented young detectives in her city. She had solved cases others thought impossible, fought for victims who had no voice, and built a reputation for her sharp instincts and unshakable courage. She had given up her badge when she thought she had found true love, believing that marriage and motherhood would finally bring her the peace she longed for. But life had a cruel way of testing her, and when Victor's mistress, Cassandra, came into the picture, Eliza's world crumbled. Cassandra was beautiful in the cold, polished way of someone who loved mirrors more than people. She was younger, loud, and unapologetically proud of stealing another woman's husband. She flaunted expensive gifts Victor bought her, wore his initials on necklaces, and didn't hesitate to mock Eliza in public gatherings. The whispers spread quickly, pitying glances followed Eliza wherever she went. Poor wife, people would murmur, so quiet, so fragile, so easily replaced. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know that every insult Cassandra hurled, every betrayal Victor committed, was being quietly documented, recorded, and pieced together by Eliza. She was still a detective at heart. And she was building a case, one that would not just expose her husband's infidelity, but uncover something far darker. For Victor was not simply unfaithful. His empire of wealth, luxury cars, and private jets was built on shadows. Eliza began to suspect the late-night phone calls, the untraceable transactions, the nervous glances of men in suits who came to the mansion and left without a word. Cassandra, blinded by vanity, had no idea that her lover's empire was teetering on the edge of destruction. She only saw the diamonds, the champagne, the thrill of winning over the man who had once vowed to protect his wife. One rainy evening, Cassandra cornered Eliza in the mansion's grand hall. Her heels clicked against the marble as she circled the pregnant woman, her lips curled in a cruel smile. She called Eliza pathetic, weak, unloved. She laughed at the sight of Eliza's swollen belly, mocking the child who was yet unborn. Eliza stood silent, her hands gripping the railing behind her, her heart burning with silent rage. It took every ounce of strength not to respond, not to reveal what she knew. For in her pocket was a small device, recording every word Cassandra spat out. Eliza's silence wasn't weakness, it was power. Days turned into weeks, and Eliza pieced together the puzzle of Victor's secret life. She followed the threads of his business deals, digging through documents and messages when he left his phone carelessly unlocked. She discovered offshore accounts, illegal trade routes, and dangerous allies who would not hesitate to destroy anyone who stood in their way. Each night, when Victor returned smelling of expensive perfume that wasn't hers, Eliza would close her eyes, cradle her unborn child, and whisper promises of a better tomorrow. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for the life growing inside her. But the breaking point came at a lavish party Victor hosted in his mansion. Cassandra was there, dressed in crimson silk that glimmered under the lights, her hand possessively resting on Victor's arm. Guests laughed, glasses clinked, music swelled. And in the middle of it all, Cassandra made a cruel toast. With a smirk, she raised her glass and said how lucky she was to have a man who chose passion over pity, fire over burden. The words cut through Eliza like a blade. Yet she didn't flinch. Instead, she felt an icy calm. The world thought she was a broken wife. Tonight, she would reveal who she truly was. When the music faded and Victor slipped away to handle business, Eliza followed quietly. She found him in his private study, arguing in hushed tones with men who looked more like criminals than businessmen. She turned on her hidden camera, capturing everything: the threats, the bribes, the mention of shipments no law-abiding man would ever be part of. Her heart raced, her hands shook, but her resolve never faltered. At that moment, she wasn't just a wife. She was a detective reclaiming her purpose. It didn't take long before the walls of Victor's empire began to crack. Anonymous evidence flooded into law enforcement offices. Cassandra started to notice the tension, the way Victor grew paranoid, the sudden disappearances of men she once saw at parties. But she still clung to her vanity, mocking Eliza even as whispers of investigations grew louder. And then, one morning, it all came crashing down. Police sirens wailed outside the mansion. Officers stormed in, reading out charges that made Cassandra's face pale and Victor's confidence collapse. Cameras captured every moment, and the world watched as the mighty millionaire was dragged away in handcuffs. But the most powerful image was not Victor in chains. It was Eliza, standing tall in the doorway, her hands gently resting on her belly, her eyes unflinching as the world realized who she truly was. News spread quickly. The wife they mocked, the woman they dismissed, was the very detective who had brought a criminal empire to its knees. Cassandra disappeared into shame and silence. Victor faced trial and a future behind bars. And Eliza, she walked forward, free not only from betrayal but from the burden of silence she had carried for too long. Her child would be born into a world where truth had triumphed, where courage had spoken louder than cruelty. Sparkles, if this story touched your heart, if Eliza's strength and resilience moved you, please don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Royal Stories. Your engagement helps us continue to bring stories of hope, justice, and inspiration to light. Sparkles, speech balloon special request. Comment below, what part of Eliza's journey inspired you the most? We'd love to hear your thoughts.